Alright, this is John Cole with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, you're going to learn if a 27-year raw food, plant-based eater is a fruit hater. Yes, I've been called a fruit hater if I have a vendetta against fruit. And you know what? Hey, I love all my fruit brothers and sisters out there. Fruit is an amazing food. And in this episode, I want to share with you guys my opinions on the whole fruit topic that has been coming up a lot on my videos in late, actually. So first thing I want to say is that I'm not a fruit hater, right? There are definitely people that are raw vegans and also fruit haters, you know, that really despise fruit and say you shouldn't eat it. That's not me. You could go to another channel if you guys want to see those people, like Brian Clement. You know, he doesn't particularly care for fruit too much. Neither does somebody like Gabriel Cousins. That's not me. You're gonna have to go for a different channel for, you know, that kind of content. But what I will say is this, you know, and I'll tell you guys what I'm for. I am for eating a fruit and vegetable based diet, getting enough fruit and vegetables. That is the right amount for you. I know what the right amount for me is, and I'm not a nutritionalist, nor I am a doctor or anybody to tell you guys how much fruit you should eat. But I want to show you guys what I do in case, you know, it's important to you to know what a 27-year long-term raw vegan does after being through the ringer of seeing how different raw food diets affect me, affect my blood tests, affect my microbiome, right? In addition, my head is not in the sand during these past 27 years. I've been paying attention, you know, learning about the science, about nutrition, keeping up with other plant-based doctors, even paleo eaters and people that are carnivore, and seeing what they're doing. And hey, there's always something you can learn from people doing things a little bit different from you, you know? So I don't want to necessarily discount anybody. I'm just showing you guys on my channel what I'm doing, and hopefully on my channel I could share with you guys what I'm doing in my personal life. I know there's many other YouTube raw food channels and otherwise that teach you guys about how you should do it or what you should model, and that's simply what I'm doing on my channel. All right. Second thing I will say is that, you know, when I got into raw foods 27 years ago, I learned about a few main ways to be and eat raw foods. You know, I first learned about Ann Wigmore and Hippocrates style diet, which is really high in greens, higher in fats, and definitely lower on the fruit side. I then learned about natural hygiene, and, you know, which is more of a high fruit program, maybe not emphasizing the vegetables enough, you know. I've learned about juicing and eating sprouts through people like the Juice Man and the Sprout Man, right? And through all the ways that I learned about being a raw foodist, right, I came up with my own method back then. And I took, you know, things out of each of the different dietary programs that I thought was important, you know, which, you know, even back then was eating some fruit, eating vegetables, maybe eating some sprouted, you know, foods, drinking some juice, and getting some seaweed in for some trace minerals. So, you know, my diet really hasn't changed. I maybe changed some of the things I've been including in maybe higher amounts than I used to. But, you know, I've never was really in like this one camp of raw foods, despite promoting, you know, all fashions of raw foods. That being said, these days, you know, I'm off on my own little tangent, and if you want to exclude me from your raw vegan club, I don't really care. I'm not really a fan of labels, and I personally, you know, I like to say I like to describe what I do, you know, and I eat a very nutrient-dense, minimally processed plant food diet that is focused around vegetables, fruits, and other plant foods, you know, in a minimally processed state, as fresh as possible, and more importantly, as high quality as possible. You know, it's not new that I'm a big promoter of vegetables, you know, so I could promote vegetables and eating vegetables all I want. I mean, 7 years ago, I did a video with Victorious Kolvinskis talking about, you know, why you should eat more vegetables and maybe eat a bit less fruit. You know, my YouTube channel for gardening is not called Growing Your Fruit. It's called Growing Your Greens, because I believe greens are one of the most under-eaten foods on the entire planet for everybody, not just people into a raw foods diet. So this is not necessarily new that I've been advocating for high consumption of vegetables. Maybe I've upped my vegetable consumption personally in the last few years than I ever have before. But now maybe I'm saying the opposite. So when I say eat more vegetables, everybody's all right with that. But when I say eat less fruit, everybody freaks out. But I've been basically saying that, but I say eat more vegetables. Consequently, you will reduce more fruit, all right? So anyways, I want to just get into the nuts and bolts of this so that you guys could understand it, because I don't want there to be confusion out there. And more so than anything else, I don't want you guys to fail on whatever diet style you're on, whether you're on a raw vegan diet, if you want to accept the label or not, right? It's very important and critical that you eat enough calories on your raw vegan diet. So in some raw vegan camps, they say you can only get your calories from fruits or fats. And like, you can't get your calories from vegetables. You can't get your calories from grains, beans, and other legumes and other foods. So you got to pick one of the two. So you got to be a high-fat raw vegan, which I also experimented with gourmet raw vegan to a smaller extent in my career, which I don't think definitely doesn't work. But you could get your calories from fruits or fats, and those are the two options, because you really can't get your calories from vegetables. That's not exactly true, and most people in raw foods won't necessarily get their calories from other means, you know, sprouted grains and beans, you know, for example, which you could do. So I want to let you guys know that I want you guys to be open to possibilities, not just like, this is the only way, fruit or fat, you got to be one or the other, you're either high fat or you're low fat. You could still eat very high carbohydrate and not eat high amounts of fruits. I will say it is more challenging, and so it's maybe not for people that are just new into this, that want an easy life, you know, because it's definitely an easier life to eat higher volumes of fruit, because the more vegetables you eat, the more processing you'll have to do, you know, that aren't necessarily your teeth. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into this topic here. And so here's the thing, right? I made a spreadsheet. I'll put a link down below to the Excel file if you guys want to download it. It's a spreadsheet where you basically put in the total number of calories, the average number of calories that you want to count for fruit. I use the 300, and the average calorie count you want to use for vegetables, I count, like I say, 100 calories per pound of fruit or vegetables. And I came up with this chart. So say you're a lady and you only need 1,500 calories, you could put 1,500 calories, and then you could come up with the pounds of fruits or the pounds of vegetables you'll need at varying percentages if you want to go by an exact percentage of your calories from fruits or vegetables. That being said, I don't really calculate that these days. My goal these days is to have 2 meals of vegetables, 1 meal of fruit, and then maybe some extra berries along with that. I could count a meal of fruit as just eating fruit, making a smoothie based around fruit, maybe even with a few vegetables in there. And of course, on a vegetable meal, it could be a salad, or I call, you know, when I drink a juice, I call that a vegetable meal personally. So today I did a 5-mile bike ride, and then I worked in 100-degree weather for probably like 2 hours, cutting down a palm tree. And so far today, it's like already 2 o'clock. So far today, I've only had 3 juices. So I had a 32-ounce root juice. You can check my Instagram for the ingredients in there. And then I had 2 fruit and vegetable-based juices. They're about evenly half and half. So like half fruit, half vegetable. So overall, I probably had 8 pounds of vegetables in their juice form and 2 pounds or 4 pounds of fruit in their fruit form so far in my day. So you can see my ratio is, if I had 8 pounds of vegetables and 4 pounds of fruit, I basically have twice as many vegetables as I do for fruit. And of course, when you're juicing things, you don't get 100% of the calories because you lose some in the fiber. Anyways, enough about that. So anyways, the whole chart here is this. Say you need 2,000 calories a day. There's, you know, if you're eating solely fruits and vegetables, you know, you're going to have a ratio. So say you want to eat 100% fruit diet, that means you're going to eat 6.67 pounds of fruit, figuring that each fruit pound has 300 calories. That means you're going to get 2,000 calories from 6.67 pounds of fruit, and you're going to have 0% of vegetables. So you're 100% fruitarian at that point, eating 0 vegetables. You know, I personally would not, you know, do a 100% fruit-based diet. It is true that, you know, fruits and vegetables, they have different nutrients, and in my opinion, they complement each other perfectly. When you eat too many fruits and no vegetables, that can be problematic, especially in terms of minerals, and more importantly, some of the phytonutrients. You could surely get your calories from solely fruit, but I think that, you know, limiting your consumption of vegetables to get only fruit, I think, is personally not good, and I wouldn't do it. I've seen very few people succeed long-term on a very high fruit-based diet, all right? So moving down, you know, and I'm not going to tell you guys which one is best or which one you guys should do, but I'm just here to give you guys options. You know, if you guys want to eat a 90% fruit-based diet, then you'd eat 6.63 pounds of fruit, which is just a little bit less than 6.67. You're going to get 1,900 calories from fruit, and then you're going to get 100 calories of vegetables by eating 1 pound of vegetables. Likewise, you could go to 90%, you're going to eat 6 pounds of fruit, 2 pounds of vegetables, 1,800 calories, and 200 calories, right? 85, 5.67, 1,700, and 15% of vegetables, 3 pounds, that's 300 calories approximately. 80%, 5.33, 1,600 calories, and then you're going to have 20% of vegetables. This is figuring that you are only eating fruits and vegetables with nothing else, right? And then you got 4 pounds of vegetables, 400, right? Down at 75%, and you know, in my video that I talk about, you know, eat vegetables or fail, link down below to that video, I recommend a 1-to-1 ratio for an ideal ratio of fruits to vegetables. Now, when I say fruits, I'm classifying the fruits here as sweet fruits, and when I say vegetables, I would include vegetables that are normally thought of as vegetables, such as tomatoes. So non-sweet fruits like cucumbers, zucchinis, I would consider them vegetables. So I would recommend 5 pounds of fruit, you know, and 5 pounds of vegetables. That means you're getting 75% of your calories from sweet fruits, 25% of your calories from vegetables. And of the 5 pounds, you're gonna have the link down below. I recommend eating a mixture of different kinds of vegetables. Don't just eat only cucumbers or only tomatoes. You wanna eat like a pound of leafy greens, a pound of sprouts, you know, a pound of stem vegetables, a pound of root vegetables, and a pound of fruity vegetables, you know, non-sweet fruits. So that's, you know, that's what I recommend. You know, if you guys really wanna do it, you know, that's what I would say. This is what John would say that you might wanna do. Of course, you know, it depends on your goals, your needs, you know, your lifestyle, and what you're doing, right? Maybe you're an athlete, man, and getting in 5 pounds of vegetables is hard when you're on the go and you got a job, right? Eating a lot of fruit is easy because you can just peel a banana, eat it. Bananas are, you know, instead of being like 300 calories per pound, they're like 400 calories a pound. So they're like maxing out your caloric intake with the poundage of fruits that you eat, whereas berries would be like lower on the scale. But then maybe you're going to end up here, man, and eat 6 pounds and eat 2 pounds of vegetables. You know, and that's up to you, right? What I'm saying, what I like to do is actually, you know, I don't even like to do the 75, 25% for me personally. You know, I like to do down here, I like to do like 50%. So I do like 3 pounds of fruit, that's about 1,000 calories, and I do 50%, you know, of calories from vegetables, that's 10 pounds of vegetables, right? I'm not going to say 10 pounds of vegetables is easy to get, right? You got to use some equipment to do that, right? That's why at 5 pounds, that's at the point where you probably should drink a green juice a day to kind of like concentrate some vegetables, because otherwise your stomach might not hold that much. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 pounds of vegetables seems reasonable that you could reasonably eat, but more than that, you will need to use something like a juicer or maybe like a dehydrator to dehydrate out the water content, which I'm not necessarily a big fan of. If you don't want to be raw, you could steam some vegetables. That'll concentrate them down so you could kind of get more into you know, and get more calories from your vegetables. And of course, that is completely up to you, right? So what I'm going to tell you guys is my personal belief is that 75%, you know, fruits, sweet fruits would be, you know, a good solid amount to make sure you're still getting your 5 pounds of vegetables, once again including non-sweet fruits counted as vegetables, counting as leafy greens, counting as stems, roots, sprouts. You know, it's very important to get a variety of these things. Now, why would I say that, right? Vegetables have lots of different nutrients in them that fruits may not have. So vegetables have a lot of different phytonutrients that are not contained in fruits, as well as minerals. Generally, vegetables are more significantly rich in minerals. And, you know, say you need to get iron, for example. Yeah, you could get iron and calcium from your fruits, right? Depending on the fruit choices, some fruits have more or less. But in general, leafy greens will have more levels and higher levels of calcium and iron. So, you know, if you're just up here at 100%, right, you could still meet your mineral needs for sure on a raw vegan diet if you like eat large quantity of certain fruits, but then at what expense? Because now you're also intaking more, you know, sugar, natural sugars with the fiber, you know, that our bodies will have to process to get the benefits. And, you know, I don't see the benefit of that for me personally, especially after seeing my blood tests after many years and how my body reacted to eating higher quantities of fruit. when I was younger, I was able to handle my fruit better. You know, as I'm getting more mature, maybe I don't. I mean, I also don't, you know, go out and do as much physical activity as I used to. So, you know, these things evolve and change over time. So I want you guys to just, you know, be more fluid and not like stuck and rigid in what you're doing, you know. And once again, I'm just sharing with you guys what I do in case it's important to you, and my experience is important to you to prevent pitfalls, right? That's all I'm going to tell you guys. So you get to choose the percentage you want. That's up to you. You know, so what does this look like in a pie chart? So the minimum I would recommend as a high fruit eater, I would say 75% of your diet from fruit and 25% from vegetables, right? I mean, that's the maximum amount of fruit that I think is good for people personally. You know, and this is based on just my experience and what I believe. It may or may not be true. You know, I'm not going to say this is the word of God or nothing like that. I'm going to say this is my personal beliefs, right? And hopefully I can have my own beliefs on my channel, right? If you want to do a more balanced fruit to vegetable ratio, you could do 50% fruit and 50% vegetables. Now, I will say, you know, this is kind of like my goal. My goal is to get more calories from vegetables than I get from fruit. You know, but I don't necessarily eat a balanced fruit diet where I have balanced amounts of fruits and vegetables, because I eat other things besides just fruits and vegetables, of course. And once again, if you're getting more than like 2 or 3 pounds of vegetables, right, you got to start concentrating them. So maybe you could put a pound in the blender and you still got a pound of mass you got to consume, right? When you heat process them, whether through dehydration or steaming, the size, the volume reduces. You could still get the caloric density out of there, and more importantly, some of the nutrients. But I like to juice my vegetables, and if you're against juicing, then that kind of limits you as to what you could do. Then it really significantly limits how many vegetables you'll be able to consume if you don't believe that juicing vegetables could be beneficial. I mean, usually half of my vegetables I eat in a day are through a green juice and half are in a root juice. And then I might eat another pound or 2 of vegetables, you know, in a salad, and then some heat processed vegetables as well. All right, so 50-50, 50 fruit, 50 veg, and then let's go to this side. And let's not forget that there are other foods besides fruits and vegetables. Now, I believe that a diet, you know, for a healthy diet should consist of fruits and vegetables as the mainstays, but you could have smaller amounts of other different foods that should better round out your diet. Why do I say this? Well, you know, I've looked at the analysis of many different foods, and, you know, here's the thing. Every different kind of foods have different ratios of, you know, protein, fats to carbs, calories in there, different kinds of vitamins and minerals, more importantly, different kinds of phytonutrients, and more recently, of importance to me, are different kinds of fiber and resistant starches, right? Why would I say this? Why would I say, you know, eat more than just fruits and vegetables when I've been telling people to eat fruits and vegetables as a dominant part of their diet for a long time? And why am I expanding what I'm eating now? Well, because I did a microbiome test. In my microbiome test, part of the results was that it showed that I really didn't have the bacteria to digest starch in my microbiome test. Now, why would a 27-year raw food plant-based eater not have the bacteria in his gut to digest starch? Because the bacteria in your gut are based on what you're eating. If I'm eating fruits and vegetables and not eating starch, I don't need the starch-based bacteria to digest those things, right? But there's also correlations with, you know, long-term population studies and their microbiome, and the microbiome is showing that you want to have a greater diversity of, and certain kinds of microbes and bacteria can be implicated and be present in, like, centenarians, for example. And, you know, so that's more my goal, is to eat for my microbiome. When I got into raw foods, you know, the microbiome wasn't even discussed or discovered yet. And likewise, you know, I've been into the raw foods diet for 27 years now, and there wasn't as many studies on raw vegans back then, or just plant-based eaters, or on microbiome or something. There's other topics that I really research and look into. So I'm modifying my diet to kind of, like, you know, model some of what the science is telling me, to shape my microbiome, in my opinion, for the better, you know. And so that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm sharing with you guys on my channel. So here's the other thing, right? Besides fruits and vegetables, which should be a dominant part of your diet, I would say, you know, there's other foods that should be eaten that can be quite healthy. The challenge is some of these foods have higher amounts of calories. So what does that mean? That means you could eat some of these foods and maybe, you know, not eat as many fruits or vegetables, right? And that'll change your ratios, of course. And then it could get quite complicated. So then for that, you want to do something like Chronometer, and you could go to chronometer.com. You could type in what you want to eat, and you could kind of see the breakdown of the nutrients, right? I wish Chronometer talked about the different kinds of fiber and all these things, but that's like really advanced topics, and the resistant starches in the foods, because that could really make a significant difference in your microbiome. And the studies show that by eating, a wider diversity of foods, like 30 different kinds of foods, in a week, you're going to have a greater diversity of microbiome gut buddies that, can positively impact and affect your health in the long run. So, nuts and seeds, this is how many calories per pound. So nuts and seeds are 2,500 calories per pound. So, I've known raw foodists that would just snack on nuts all day, maybe eat a whole bag of cashews. Boom, that could be their 2,000 calories right there. Now, I don't think that's necessarily healthy. So I think it's important to get some nuts and seeds every day, and I like to have like a handful of nuts in the shell that I'll just sit there and crack one by one and then eat it. I'll also have some nuts and seeds and other whole food sources of fat in my salad dressings, for example. So, I eat small amounts of nuts and seeds, maybe like an ounce or two a day. If you want to eat beans, some beans can be sprouted and eaten if they're raw. Many beans cannot. So like garbanzos, you could sprout and eat raw. Lentils, you could sprout and eat raw. If you guys want to expand your diet to get more calories from your beans, that's 1,000 calories per pound for beans. And this is on average lentils or less, and other beans could be a little more. But if you want to keep them raw, then sprout some lentils. And if you eat just, 8 ounces of sprouted lentils, now you got like 200 calories, 300 calories from just the lentils, right? And now you don't have to feel pressure to eat as much fruit or vegetables, depending on where you want those calories to come from or go to. Likewise, rice, I buy wild rice that I then will soak, and then it basically blooms. It's technically not raw, but I've been eating this as a raw foodist ever since I went to Chef Ito's place, Alak, in Fountain Valley, California, I don't even know, 20 years ago now, because he served it, so I'm like, it must be raw, but it's technically not, because it's parched, if you want to be totally accurate. But once again, I'll make a big thing of rice, I'll bloom it, it's like a 1 pound bag, 1 pound of rice, about 1,500 calories. I don't eat that in one sitting, I'll divvy that up and eat it over several days. But now you're getting some calories from rice, from the sprouted greens, from the bloom rice. You could also, of course, if you're not adverse to heat processing these things, you could cook them and eat them to once again get some different kinds of foods with different kinds of fiber and phytonutrients in your diet, so that you're not so strict and rigid and limited to limited number of food categories, right? Seaweed, I eat seaweed every day. They're not necessarily a good source of calories. They do have maybe on average, depends on the seaweed you eat, of course, 200 calories per pound. I eat nowhere near a pound of seaweed a day. I might eat maybe an ounce, if that. It's good to have seaweed for some of the trace minerals and some of the different polysaccharides and fibers that are in the seaweeds. Oh, I didn't even put mushrooms up on this list, which are also a very low calorie food, which is good for the fiber as well as the phytonutrients, although it's not going to necessarily get you to not increase your calories significantly. And of course, we got grains on there. So, like the Ann Wigmore style back in the day, they recommended sprouted grains, whether it's sprouted wheat that they used to do in the olden days, sprouted, kamut, which is like ancient wheat, or like sprouted einkorn, or sprouted quinoa or millet or sprouted buckwheat, right? These are all kind of grains, quote unquote, that you could also add to your diet. Forever I've been sprouting buckwheat, every couple weeks, and I'll include that as one of the foods I eat, not only for different nutrients, for different textures in my mouth, different taste sensations, but also to spread my diet out more than just eating fruits and vegetables. That being said, some people may classify buckwheat as a fruit itself. So now this is what I'm to now. This is how I eat these days. I eat an inclusive fruit diet. So how this looks in a pie chart, I might have 40% vegetables. Vegetables, to me, are the base, not necessarily fruit. And if you guys want to have fruit as your base, I'm not going to say that's bad or wrong. That it's different, and being different is fine. I'm just teaching you guys what I'm doing in case it's important to you, as somebody who's been doing this for 27 years, looking at my blood tests and seeing my microbiome test, and also following the research that's out there in science. I eat 30% of my calories from fruit. Hey, fruit is an amazing food. You know, I love my fruit. It tastes so good. And for the majority of my raw foods career, I ate a lot more fruit than 30%. But this is where I'm at in my life, at this point in my life. Can that change in the future? Can I increase my fruit tomorrow or reduce it tomorrow? Yes, you know, I like to be fluid in what I'm doing and not totally fixed unless it's with my gender preference personally. So yeah, I'm doing 30% fruit, and then like I do 20% of other foods, which include some of the foods up here, you know, aside from the nuts and seeds. So beans, rice, seaweed, and grains, I've included some of those in my diet. These days, I heat process them myself to get those into me. And you know, of course, the 40% veg, most of my fruit and vegetable calories are in their raw state. You know, that being said, a small percentage of vegetable calories I can heat some of them these days because I'm not super rigid as I used to be. And of course, I get about 10%, you know, of my calories from nuts and seeds, which is about an ounce or two a day. You know, so that's kind of where I'm at now. So am I against fruit because I eat a lower fruit diet myself? And you know, I recommend that if you guys want to eat a fruit-based diet, eat 75% calories from fruit. Is that not enough fruit? Is that too many vegetables? I mean, this is what I think, and this is my beliefs. And you know, you guys are up to do what you guys want to do. But if you guys want to know what I do or what I'm teaching, this is what I'm teaching, you know. Once again, you know, vegetables are more nutrient dense, means they have a lot more phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals, you know, than calories. And I think, you know, fruit-based eaters, it's definitely important to get enough calories. So you got to make sure you have your ratios correct and you're eating enough food. I see a lot of people tend to just gravitate towards eating a lot of fruit. You know, I mean, I watched a couple more What I Eat in a Days today, and they're very high fruit eaters. And I think in the long run, eating very high fruit, like 100% fruit without enough leafy green vegetables, is going to bite you in the butt. Because as the study that I showed in the last video, you know, you could have some challenges with having enough minerals and being mineral deficient, especially if you're not eating things like seaweed. And you know, let's not forget, like, the quality of the food is super important. Most people on a raw vegan diet don't have a full garden that they harvest 100% of their fruit from. You know, hey, if you guys had your own fruit forest and mineralized with rock dust and had healthy soil, you know, I know a guy that eats like almost 100% fruit, and he's quite healthy doing that. The fact of the matter is, most people are getting fruit from the grocery store that has been picked too early, hasn't fully ripened up, is not being grown with all the different trace minerals, right? And so that plays a huge factor, and this is why I recommend what I do. If you have your own yard and grow 100% of your own fruit, and then even chop down the trees that don't taste good to you or not as nutritious, you know, then you could eat more fruit. But you know, I think the vegetables are critically important, especially when you're eating food from the industrial agriculture. You know, the vegetables are so required, you know, keep your mineral balances up. And you know, once again, like, I had some challenges and things with cavities, you know, due to mineral imbalances. So, you know, once again, this is my channel. I'm sharing with you guys my beliefs, my information. I'm not going to tell you guys it's correct or whatever. I'm just sharing with you guys what I do and, you know, what I would recommend that you guys might want to try. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionalist. If you guys need professional advice, go see somebody that's certified. I am not, right? Read some books. I'd recommend reading, you know, Eat for Life, Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I believe in Dr. Joel Fuhrman's work a lot. So once again, on my channel, you guys are going to hear from me and my beliefs. I'm not going to say this is truth or anything. I'm just going to say this is what my beliefs are at present time after being into a raw foods diet 27 years, based on my personal experiences and, you know, the science and things that I've read and taken in from other plant-based doctors that I trust. And this is where I ended up at this point in time. If you guys want to eat higher fruit and it's working for you, you got good blood tests, man, more power to you. Because, you know, it's more than just this percentage fruit and this percentage of vegetables, because it comes down to, like, what is the quality of the fruit and vegetables you're eating? What is your specific lifestyle? What's your age? What does your microbiome look like? What does your blood test look like? I mean, these are just basic tests that you could do. And the other thing is, what are your goals? You know, I'm really looking forward to, you know, having a good, healthy life. And, you know, I think about that a little bit, and so I don't want to just, you know, be typecast and put all my money on the fruit, like I'm gambling on fruit for my life, right? Because that's what you're doing when you make choices on the diet that you're eating. You're also dealing with today's health, but also your health in 10 years or 20 years, right? And, you know, my money is definitely more on vegetables than there are fruit. I want everybody out there to eat a fruit-appropriate diet, and how much fruit is appropriate for you, that's for you to decide. Of course, I've shared what I believe and my beliefs on it, but overall my message is eat a proper amount of fruit, and don't make sure not to neglect your vegetables, guys. Most important thing, and you know, I would encourage you guys to include and go beyond just eating fruits and vegetables, because there's so many other healthy plant foods. If properly processed, they can be totally good and healthy for you, and even help you get a more resilient gut microbiome. So that's pretty much what I'm going to say in this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode on another whiteboard where I kind of go into more detail like this, give this video a thumbs up. You know, it took me like all morning to kind of get this together and get up the percentages and then figure out how I'm going to present this so that it's easily to digest for you guys, so that you guys like, okay, I get it now. John's not against fruit. He's for eating an adequate amount of fruit, and most importantly, getting enough vegetables so that you can remain a raw vegan if that is your goal successfully. And likewise, I don't care if you're a raw vegan or just a vegan or an omnivore, right? I still want you guys to eat a good percentage of vegetables and fruits in your diets, right? Because vegetables and fruits are the healthiest foods on the planet, as well as some other, you know, other plant foods can be quite healthy in smaller amounts, right? I encourage you guys to share this episode with other people so that they could learn about the percentage of fruits and vegetables that they might want to eat, as well as some of the other foods that they could eat based on what I believe and what I like to teach to you guys who are watching me. So thanks for sticking through this entire video. I'd also encourage you guys to smash that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I'll be coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know what'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time. Teach you guys all about the power of eating fruits and vegetables. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.